Travel with me from Dallas to Fiji, flying with Fiji Airways. I was flying out of DFW, so the first thing I did was head to the lounge. I actually upgraded my flight to business class, so I did get access to the American Airlines flagship lounge. I've been to a ton of lounges around the world, and I honestly had really high expectations for this lounge, and I think I was a little bit let down because it is a business class lounge. I wasn't super impressed by the food. I did like that they had sushi, but they had this create your own drink station, and I absolutely refused to sit there and try to bartend, so I headed over to the Capital One lounge to get an espresso martini. And no, I am not joking. It was time to board, so I headed to the gate, and this was my seat on Fiji Airways. This is a newer plane, so it did have some nice updated features. I was greeted by a hot towel and of course champagne, which they usually do this on business class flights before you take off, which is super nice. They give you two menus. One has the dinner options and the other one has the breakfast options. You fill out the one for breakfast, you give it to the flight attendant, and then they come around and ask you what entree you would like for dinner. I can make a more detailed video explaining exactly what it was like flying business class on Fiji Airways. The flight from Dallas to Fiji is a direct route. It is a 13-hour flight. In my personal opinion, upgrading to business class is so worth it for these really long flights. You get way better food, amazing service, and the best thing is that you get to lay all the way down on these lie flat seats. After dinner, the flight attendant came by and asked me if I wanted my bed made for sleep. So I said, of course. I came back, my bed was fully made, and I literally slept 8 hours on this plane. The only reason I even woke up was for breakfast service. They do that 3 hours before landing. Breakfast service was also super tasty, but right after eating, I went back to sleep and slept another 2 hours right before landing in Fiji. We landed in Fiji at 5 a.m. local time. We got through customs, which was a relatively quick experience. We headed over to the domestic terminal to go on a separate flight to get us closer to our resort, to the island of Savu Savu. This flight was on a much smaller plane, of course. It was one of these really, really tiny planes where it's literally just you and the pilots. There's no flight attendant, no bathrooms, or anything on these flights. The plane ride from Nadi to Savu Savu was about an hour long. It was a little hot on this plane, so I was really glad that I brought my little portable fan with me. It was a lifesaver. We arrived in Savu Savu an hour later in literally the tiniest airport I've ever seen in my life. This is it. That's the airport. And then we got in this truck. We had an hour and a half ride. And then we hopped over to the ferry boat, which ended up taking us to our resort. So about 17 hours later, we finally arrived at our resort. We were greeted by refreshment towels and welcome drinks and a really cute welcome ceremony that they had for us. Stay tuned for more details about my Fiji trip.